Okay, I think we're live. Can we just double check this real fast? Decontrol. There it is. Oh, it's saying DeFi 1. Oh, fuck. Is there a new live happening? There we go. All right. Okay. Okay, everyone. I think we're live. Is that accurate?
Mm-hmm.
Is this working? Oh, yeah. There we go. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, everyone, for coming out to EthVan here at Decontrol. We host this every Thursday, and you know what? This is going to be our last one here in the space. So it's been a very magical time we've had down here for over a decade. This place has been going on for that long. I think a lot of you know all that so far that are here. But yeah, this is going to be our last one just because we're starting to pack up. As you can see, there's things off the walls. There's things in boxes. We're really making it happen. So we've got ideally another little month extension just to get us through. But we're going to be using that to pack and migrate and move and get everything dialed in. But nonetheless, there's been a lot of really great efforts. So thanks to everybody who's come out to help us with boxing. And Andrew's been doing an amazing job here of coordinating with everyone to make this a success. So we'll keep you guys posted. There's a few places to add your name to the list if you are looking to help. We'll have some sign-up dates. We will have more dates in the future when we actually literally need to move shit to the next place. And yeah, we're still aiming and kind of targeting for this 311 water. That's what we're aiming for right now. We'll see if things change, if something else comes along before we nail that down, but that's kind of the hope right now. And yeah, so any packing sessions coming soon or anything else? I think we're pretty much good for now, I think. But we'll keep you posted, though. Please just keep an eye on X, keep an eye on Discord, as far as like when we're going to be having the next sessions for going places. So we might need some bodies and some trucks and some vehicles and a bunch of able-bodied things there. And if anybody has a line on really good movers who are like good at moving heavy, big shit, in case in point with the Pepsi machine, for example, or the onboarder in the back, like those things are really heavy and awkward, and I don't know that we want to tackle that ourselves. So that would be one thing. I could also reach out there to everybody here and at home to try and help us out with that. Okay, yeah, and as far as events goes, I don't like I say, we're going to keep this place pretty chill for now, and yeah, we'll hopefully get it going. Tomorrow, though, we've got the happy hour.
The happy hour is tomorrow in Gastown. If you don't have the invite, come talk to me. It's free, 6 to like 10, 6 to 9. Yeah, come hang out and send off the month.
Perfect. And then yeah, that's probably it for now. We'll keep everybody just keep on socials. We'll keep you informed as best we can. All right, for our final presentation for this space, we'll be back at it here hopefully in maybe late April or early May. We've got Zone Guest who's here to tell us about being comfy in a few hard dead hands. We'll always have some magical stuff here. I'll let you take it away from here, sir.
All right, thank you, Tangle.
And if anybody has questions throughout, there are some mics kicking around. Just be sure you raise your hand, grab a mic, and go from there. Okay.
I'm not sure how much I want to be interrupted, but we'll play it. It's an honor to deliver the final keynote of the basement, and hopefully it'll entertain you. So I've been noticing that there is this kind of system out there, and I didn't think that people were naming it or trying to understand it, in the way I was. And so this is me grasping at that, if you'll excuse the pun a bit. So what do I mean by these words? I've redefined them, obviously, and we'll get to it. But first, I'm going to flip it and start with some examples. So here's my agenda. I'm going to give you the examples first of what's out there, what I see, and then I'm going to try to define what we're talking about, like try to come up with names for these things, what are their properties or qualities, why would you use them, and then how, there's nothing really new. There's some history to it. We have similar kind of things out there in the world of atoms, not bits, and certainly not on blockchain. Even policies talking about it. And then we're going to go through some frameworks for evaluating them, whether it's like, evaluating them based on like how hard they are, do they have the properties they say they do? Can we verify it? And then I found a report that was doing even performance evaluation. And then I'm proposing my own, of course, because I'm unsatisfied with what I found. Still early, right? This is a new design space. So what do I have first? I don't even remember. Okay, so there's this thing. Who's familiar with Aerodrome? It's like a solidly DEX. If you're familiar with that, do I need to explain what solidly is? Okay, so it's a vote escrow DEX. Basically, all the token does is it allows you to gain some share of emissions. So you take the token arrow, you lock it, and turn it into VE arrow, which is vote escrowed. And then you vote on these things called gauges, and gauges are associated with pools. One token pair with another, and you're voting on which gauge you think should get some emissions to subsidize the depositors, the LPs there. And this goes through some rounds, and then you earn a little bit of bribe back from the gauge. It's a nice little system to flow in incentives and incentivize liquidity. Okay, so and there are many flavors of that. Arrow decided, okay, we have kind of a bootstrap problem with things that we need to do. We need to incentivize liquidity, or we need to vote for that no one's going to vote for at the very beginning, but like it helps us. So for example, Coinbase wrap BTC. At the very beginning, only regular wrap BTC is available, and all of a sudden now we have this Coinbase one. Well, it's not going to get any votes at the beginning, so you can think of this thing called the public goods wallet as a strategic bootstrapper. They also claim it, they call it a system-aligned actor. And so it directs the emissions at the very early stage for Coinbase BTC, let's say, and then it compounds those back into locked, vote escrowed arrow. And they have a diagram here. Ignore the flight school thing, because that's more like a reward distribution. They already have allocated themselves locked arrow tokens, and they're giving it out to people that win a contest or something like this, right? But you can see that this loop is that the public goods wallet starts with some amount of locked arrow. It votes for things that are strategically important, and then it earns fees back in arrow and locks them again. And so it's a flywheel. It's like a little loop. It never gets rid of the arrow. It's just going to keep eating it. All right, and we can chart that. Here we go. So it's really like, how is it run? You might ask. It's 2 multisigs that the foundation has. They got 18% at initial distribution, but obviously there's still like future emissions to the protocol. Like not all of it is circulating. And it executes at the discretion of the foundation whenever they feel like doing it. And it's not very often, but you can see in this Dune dashboard, hopefully you can see it, because it's kind of, still we have this light here that I wish would turn off. Anyway, so far, starting from, where is this, July 2024, they bought back almost 2.4% of the supply so far. So that's not too bad, okay? It's just accumulating. It's probably never selling, even though it could, right? The multi-sig people could fall on hard times and be like, screw it, arrows failed. It hasn't, but they could say that. They could say it's failed and we're dumping, right? But until then, it's this kind of aligned actor, and it's just buying back and locking, which is nice. We need that, okay? That's the one thing. The other thing I found were these Frax AMOs. Who's heard of Frax? Very complex, stable coin, slightly, maybe algorithmic, although they bristle at that, protocol. And they had these things called AMOs back in 2021. That was the V1, and now we have a V3. And they call them algorithmic market operations. And so they have this autonomous policy defined in contract and possibly elsewhere, like usually in their repos. And it only has one limit to, like, anyone can start one, right? It has to be approved, but like there's a minter, so you can start new ones all the time. Few people have. The only caveat is they can't knock the stablecoin off peg by doing something. Like if the AMO would benefit from depegging the stablecoin in one direction, like it can't do that, right? Because that like harms its own ecosystem, obviously. The Frax, there's one attached to Frax Lend, which is the lending facility in Frax. That has the most fees, but it doesn't seem to do that much. And then the one that's most active is for the Frax Swap, which is, I guess there's a lot of other ecosystem tokens in Frax besides the Frax stablecoin. And you use this facility to swap in and out of them. And that one does market buys of the tokens for some strategy. So that one's most active if you look on chain. And then, unfortunately, the only one they have a nice chart for how it works is the Curve AMO, which is apparently defunct. And now it's just some guy with an EOA executing this. I assume that they work for the team. And obviously, because Curve is a stablecoin protocol with stable pools, it was meant to just always rebalance this thing, right? It's something that needs to be done. Who's going to do it? Okay, we have this AMO that will do it. And it would mint and burn depending on what side it's on. So you can see it just has these strategies and like different stable coins flow in and out of it. And it interacts with Curve and also Convex, which is related to Curve. Okay, I mean, this is simplifying it, but you're starting to get the feeling that these are what these are, okay? Then we have a very famous one, the big daddy, I would say, the Hyperliquid Assistance Fund. Now, this one started out as just an EOA, so again, it has a private key, and the team would, fees would accrue there, right? Fees from trading on the platform. They'd flow to this insurance fund, and the team would just use that and execute manually. Maybe it would send some stable coins one place, maybe it would buy back some of the token in another. You don't get a lot of assurance from that, from the insurance fund. Now, today, and since probably late 2024, it's a system address, but that's not a system contract, and I'll differentiate those. And it works automatically. It just is always going. We can even look at it. And because it's a system address, it has this nice vanity here, which is FE is 254 in decimal. And so it's just like, if we chose that, what do we get? There's no private key. Like, no one will ever know the private key for this thing, okay? We just chose a number that, like, you could not compute unless you had a quantum computer, the chunk of the public key that represents this, right? So you can't steal it. It's just operating according to some code. The fees accumulate to it. The validators, actually, because it's part of the node software, trigger a buy at some level. It places a limit order, right? So a maker order, not a taker. Like it doesn't have to be automatically filled. And this is reflexive, right? This is what people call the buyback flywheel. It became a whole narrative. Trading activity goes up, demand pressure increases, and that's good for the token. Okay, so far it has 4% burned. And hopefully we can look at let me jump out of this and look at the actual chart of it. No, that's the wrong one. Here we go. Okay. Can we see this? All right. So this thing, Hypeburn.fund, is tracking the assistance fund. And we can see that it currently holds this much hype, worth 1.6 billion. It's collected some fees since we landed on the page, but actually I, opened it earlier. And it has no limit buy orders open. So it says it will begin placing orders when it accumulates over 10K USDC. All right? And we can just, I don't know, we're not going to wait for it to go, but it's just relentlessly always accumulating fee and then buying. And the validators are driving that as part of their operations, as part of running the node software. We can also look at the revenue for the assistance fund. This one is the most tracked. It has like dynamic dashboards, so very nice to reason about. We can see that It's bought a lot of circulating supply. It's obviously always going up. The buybacks are, fairly smooth and an average price there, but it's willing to buy when it's down or when it's up. It's just relentlessly buying. Daily buybacks, you can see, looks like about over 1 million a day. Significant, okay? So until December 2025, when there was a validator vote, this was just considered like locked, right? It could be, obviously, it's an assistance fund. It could be used to backstop the system, the DEX in some way. Then the validators voted. It's considered burned. If there was an upgrade that come through, the validators can be like, screw that. We already voted. It was locked. It's never leaving. You can be promised that. The people will lose faith in the system if it did. Okay. So I'm calling these system level actors. Do we get like a through line through them that they have certain qualities? And obviously we started with the Arrow one, which is a multisig, and then the Frax one, which is a little bit more autonomous, and then the let's call it the Diamond standard, right? The most hard is the Hyperliquid assistance fund. But there's others, and Hyperliquid specifically, I wish this wasn't the case because this is an Ethereum meetup. We should talk about what's going on in Ethereum. Obviously, Frax was first. They were too early, maybe. Hyperliquid just has more system-level actors. I don't know. Maybe they have a need for this kind of thing. So they have HLP, if anyone's familiar with that, which is a Hyperliquid liquidity provider vault. It has multiple strategies. I'm not going to go into them. I don't think I understand them all. But basically, positions that are below their maintenance margin get taken over by a liquidator. And anyone can deposit that and benefit from that strategy, right? And it's just running all the time. During the 10-10 wipeout, it profited a lot, but it could also be attacked. You're in there and you're benefiting. They're spreading out the reward from doing this, whereas on other dexes or especially sexes, liquidation is you don't get to benefit from that. They're specialized actors and market makers and funds that are benefiting from it. Then for HIP3, which is their abstracted asset like DEX framework, there's an on-chain backstop liquidator, and apparently each HIP3 instance gets one, and that absorbs under-collateralized positions before auto-deleveraging kicks in. So these are kind of like always operating in the background, pursuing one strategy, and promoting the health of the system in some way. And no one really controls them. They're going on a schedule. Again, the validators, because Hyperliquid is an L1, get to roll it forward. Okay, so it seems like these kind of things are very new and they can only be possible with decentralized chains. This is not so. Anyone familiar with William Blackstone? You should be if you're from Canada. Of course you are. Anyway, he did a lot of writing that contributed to what we now know as English common law, which is what Canadian laws and also US law is based on, okay? So here he is talking about of the rights of persons and corporations, okay? So corporate personhood is not new, it's very old. And he uses this phrase in mortua manu, in Latin means in dead hands. So what this means, why is it dead? It's perpetual inalienable ownership of real estate or land, okay? So there's some legal custodian like a corporate trust or in the Islamic world a waqf, which it owns the land. The land might be very valuable. It's never selling. It's held in perpetuity. It can't actually be transferred. It doesn't have the authority to transfer it, but it is the owner, right? So he's saying that this is like a dead person in law. We had to carve out the idea that this is a dead person, so they can't sell, right? Even if they wanted to. And I guess there's also clearing members, and you'll note the pun, member, hand. Do you get it? Okay. There's also clearing members in financial world that are sort of have this kind of job. So I'm calling it, I'm translating it as it's forever soul-bound to some organizational body, okay? It's no drop. Right, whatever this asset is, you can't get rid of it. And there's also this concept of buybacks, right? This is not new. It's new to us in Web3, but Usually mature companies would try to do this. Maybe they're retiring shares, maybe they're defending the price floor. We consider it very healthy signal to the market. And it has the benefit of increasing the ownership percentage for every holder. And then they might use it as collateral to trade with, or they might, they have to play some politics, which I'm calling board games. Like they might need more shares to take over. So again, that's executed whenever they feel like it, and we'll come back to that in a second. But these concepts are not new. Okay. Now I want to point out this thing. Now I'm going to have QR codes there so you can read these posts. I'm going to try to summarize them real quick. Can everyone read this? This is Josh Stark, who later now works at Ethereum Foundation. He's talking about this concept called hardness, and he's defining it. I'm calling it durable permanence also, but he says it's making the future more certain. Okay, so he says atoms, institutions, and blockchains each have a property of hardness. Hardness is the capacity of a system to make something very likely to be true in the future. And then we can skip a lot of his points, but although you shouldn't, you should read the whole thing. But institutions are opaque, making it hard to know how hard something is. Something made with institutional hardness really is. How are you sure that the police can't seize your assets, the state won't spy on your communications, or that you'll be able to afford to enforce a contract, right? So it's sort of about promises in a way. And we want to make a promise. We want that to be trusted way into the future. And then we also want to be able to verify that that's true throughout, okay? And a cast is what the promise is about. So let's say the object in my security deposit box will still be there in 10 years, okay? So I'm making a hard promise if the secure deposit box is actually, but there are cases all the time where someone goes to check it much later, it's in a vault in some bank, and they moved it and they lost the manifest, or they pulled the wrong box and as part of an investigation or something like that. So really, the hardness of that cast of security, privacy, no one is getting at your asset is hard to verify until you go check, which you're not going to do often, and it's not likely as hard as you think it is. Okay, now I'm proposing that for system level actors, you need two qualities that contribute to hardness the most. One is what I'm calling doggedness, and that's relentless execution and resistance to thwarting. Every day, it's going to wake up, and it has one job, and that's to buy back the token, okay? And I can't be like, oh, I'm going to denial of service attack the assistance fund or the AMO. I'm going to, I could try, but it's very resistant to thwarting it. And it's also single-minded. Like, it has one job, it does it well. And then deadness. So no one controls it. I can't bribe one guy to change this thing. I would have to force an upgrade of some network, or I'd have to, again, an immutable smart contract, almost impossible to change. So these are very hard promises that the system is making to you if we can program it to do something very useful. And I'm saying that these, I think I said these, you need these both to like signal hardness and make it verifiable. All right, and I had some clip art there, but it didn't come through that well. Okay. Oh, we're not full screen. Oh, beautiful. Okay. So then I came across Aragon. If you're familiar with them, they were like a DAO framework from way back when. They're still around. They have a lot of ETH, and they write some interesting things. So in the corner here, if you can see, if you can get that, it probably is, yeah, just at the edge. There's a blog proposal called, a blog called Beyond Proposals, and I'm highlighting these two things. They're saying regulators are beginning to treat discretionary control and codified rule-based systems differently. Okay, when a small group manually steers the treasury flows, that's and they're a third party. They're not, they're let's say not a foundation like a labs entity or something else. They'll be regulated differently than a system that just has a financial policy. You can know the policy, you can audit it, and it just is neutral infrastructure, right? So there's like an entity doing things at its discretion, and then there's just a system doing what it does, and no one really owns it. And so they're trying to say we should automate more of these things. Do I have that in the next slide there? No. They're trying to say we should automate more of this, and I'll give legal reasons why this is actually interesting to you. So the Clarity Act, I'm highlighting two things here. They're probably responding to this, but it's weird that they didn't mention its position. I'm highlighting where they define, this is the definition of decentralization, right, for a protocol or system. Programmatic system, the blockchain system operates, executes, and enforces its operations and transactions based solely on pre-established, transparent rules encoded directly within the source code of the blockchain system. So it's pretty much like you're an L1 or I guess an L2 in some way. You have node software, like I'm not sure if that actually corresponds to a smart contract. And then the development of the mechanism has certain qualities, like the issuer has to have a development plan and show that like the digital commodities value is derived from the functioning of the system. So you can see that like, all right, if there's a flywheel of fees that contribute to the value of the token, like people are coming, they're doing some kind of economic activity on your thing, usually a DEX, but there can be others like lending, and those fees support the market value of the token or feed back into it, and it's not at anyone's discretion. This is just how it's programmed, right? And everyone can verify that you are decentralized under Clarity Act, and so that's very good. So Aragon obviously is saying we should do more of this. Everyone should be try to automate these things with the tools available, and we'll have a really good time, and we'll all be decentralized non-securities. Okay, so they propose this token ownership framework, they meaning Aragon, and they're categorizing projects by how they enact those policies. They're really, really bearish on proposal-based governance because they've seen too much of it. Remember, they're DAO Launchpad. They've seen way too much. There's all this discretionary execution. And so they have like a scorecard, and they're mapping out all the components, highlighting where there's automation and something is verifiable, and they, making a strong commitment. And then they have policy modules that will like, decode call data. Like they'll decode what action was done and be like, hey, did this match like what the governance, what the vote was actually to do? And if it doesn't, we flag that, right? So they want things repeated, structured, and predictable. And you can go, hopefully, read that QR code and go look at their framework there. And here they're defining these properties, these authority classes. So immutable means there's no admin upgrade parameter that can change the economic outcome. The token holders can govern the execution, and they ultimately execute the action. I feel like that's really rare. It's normally like the team takes the governance action and goes and does it. So non-token actors can't override it. How discretionary it is. I talked about this before, where there's multisigs or operators councils, and they could be like, all right, well, DAO said one thing, we're going to do another, or we're going to wait till the price is down. Like that's not acceptable here. It's highly discretionary, which we don't want. And then where they're unknown is their classification for like it's not transparent. We have no idea. It could be closed source. We can't verify anything that's going on. Okay, and I'm proposing, and it's weird that they didn't like you go and look at their page for say Arrow or another one that they've analyzed. Like they're analyzing the Arrow token, but also the protocol, and they're not talking about system level actors. They're kind of glancing at it, implying that they exist, but they're not focused on those specifically. And so I'm saying that if I wanted to expand that framework or build on it or add my own, I care about enshrinement, right? And I'm defining enshrinement as consensus embedded execution. Again, that there's some group of nodes. Hopefully we publish the source code, right? And we can verify, and maybe even you can run a ZK proof that like, all right, everyone's running this exact same source code at this release. but it's embedded in the execution. And now that could be, this is why people start their own chain, right? That's why Hyperliquid is an L1. But it's also why there can be L2s that do this, right? Arbitrum is very customized, although the sequencer, I thought this would be an objection, but like the sequencer for Arbitrum, even though you could decentralize that, is not like, I think, a system level actor based on its operations. So again, validators execute the logic. They can elect an upgrade to not. Like say there's an L2, it has the exact same schedule as assistance fund. And one day there's an upgrade and it's doing the buybacks. And then one day the upgrade says, listen, buybacks are going to continue, but we're going to like reduce them or something. Or they're going to be locked, but we're going to slow the schedule. We're going to change its threshold. All the validators can elect to join that fork or not. They can reject that, right? So there are different types of enshrinement. Obviously, a system account, that's the safest. It's encoded into the node software. Doesn't require multisig or EOA, a key that could be stolen, which happened recently with Resolve protocol. Okay, so there was like a system level actor there, but it was just a signer that was in AWS Nitros. Someone hacked their AWS and stole the thing, and they minted a bunch of the token and ruined it for everyone. And this is where I'm differentiating a system account from a system contract. So the system contract is on chain as a smart contract. It might have a public interface, but it's more about like reading things from it, less so like interacting. Although it could be that the buybacks just fill up. They fill up this pool, and waits for someone to come along and call, right? But again, that's unsatisfying. It's better to have a system account and have that hooked in, and as part of the validator's job, they're distributing, funded fees, and they're on a schedule calling the buyback. And then obviously, not everyone can run an L2 or a DVN, like a validator network that it's hard to do, right? You need a token for economic security. You need to write that software. So most what we have are unenshrined contracts, like the Frax AMO, like, did I mention another one that was like that? No, but there are others out there. And those need keepers and solvers. So like we can get by, but it's not enshrined. It's certainly not a hard promise. And then I'll talk about keepers and solvers. So this was, and this is like a little automaton called a bell striker. And at a certain time of day, he just strikes the bell. Doesn't get paid, no incentive, but. So Keeper Network existed from 2020. It was part of Yearn ecosystem. How it worked was the protocol registered a job. An external operator claims like a bounty for executing this action. It has to prove that they executed it. And this was nice when like you needed like something to happen at a given time, like every day at 12 o'clock, or no, every Sunday before market open, like dump BTC. Okay, that would be nice. That's a nice keeper job, right? So that's a time call. Or you need to harvest rewards, right? Because you're compounding, you're running this strategy. Nice idea, maybe even liquidations, although that's more complicated. Nice idea, but it turned out it was a bit too early. It was hard to generalize across jobs because there were just so many different types of jobs that could be done. You needed keepers, you need to track their reputation and stuff that's not like totally permissionless where they could just come by and you would trust them. Or that there'd be a dispute like, oh, I did the job at this time, at this block time, but like, we wanted it slightly earlier. So there's a dispute we have to resolve. We have to talk to people. Messy. And then there's no like uniform rewards. There's no optimization that you can figure out really easily to like reward all of them and like price them effectively, right? And what I think happened is like a lot of them actually like tried to become solvers, and that was just too complex. And it was 2020, and it was just there was not a lot of meaningful work to do, and the economics didn't make sense. So what is the difference between keeper and solver for unenshrined things? Keepers, think of the parameters as being fixed. You call when the conditions are met. Say like auction resolution, again liquidations. And then a solver has multiple possible pathways, and they have to decide. They have to pick among these choices and find the most optimal one. So they're like routing, doing multiple swaps and hops, selecting among paths, and you have a problem where a principal agent problem where I don't know if you're trying to incentivize solvers to come, they might do something that benefits them but not you, right? You're hiring them and they might screw you over for profit. Again, they're discretionary. They're certainly not dogged. They could just fail to bid, right? And I think that's why Keeper Network collapsed, right? Is because too many of them tried to become solvers and then they left. They went to chase something else shiny in DeFi. It was DeFi summer. I can't blame them. So that they could be unreliable and have poor performance. So we can see that like if you have unenshrined system level actors and you're hoping that some bots will come or OpenClaws will come do this thing, you have another problem. You have a lot of messiness where you have to deal with all these other actors. So we want enshrinement, okay? My framework is saying, proposing some of these tests. So test 1, where does execution live? If it's hard, if it's really hard, it's embedded in consensus or immutable contracts. I think I hammered that home. And if it's brittle, it's a multisig, an off-chain script, some kind of steward process. Oh, steward slept in, he missed the window, bad news. What triggers it? Is it the objective state transition function or like some threshold, right? Like the assistance fund in Hyperliquid validators? Or is it up to the team, right? And the team's on vacation or they're trying to time the market. Never works. The cadence is too informal. Can outsiders even verify that that's happening? If you can do it by reading the contract logic, rebuilding the state, running the node, examining the source code and testing it, great, super hard. If you can't, you're trusting the team and whatever they wrote or said, or maybe they made a dashboard and they have an API access that you don't have. Can execution stall? This is like the doggedness. So pretty much with a really well system level actor running an enshrined strategy that's very dogged, only chain degradation like a loss of liveness or something or protocol exploit like can stop it. Really, like we have to shut the network down. Kind of hard to do. Costs a lot of money. And obviously a brittle one, you could bribe them. You could do a million things. You could hack that one team's system or computer. And then if it's subject to governance, like say it's setting like initial parameters or something, it's only through an explicit on-chain upgrade or a vote if it's hard. And then otherwise it's one single decision or some kind of hidden infrastructure that you're not going to get notified when it happens. And that feeds into, is the schedule explicit? It could be continuous or a threshold like assistance fund. If we leave that to brittle actors, it's periodic or as needed, or they won't commit to anything, and that's bad, right? You want credible commitments that we can reason about. Investors can look at and be like, all right, I want to buy this thing. It has a value that I can project, that I can verify, and that I can trust way into the future. In 10 years, I know that if Hyperliquid is still around, that fund was buying the whole time. Okay. Then I found this evaluation framework for performance, focusing specifically on buybacks by KeyRock. And they're saying that, okay, it turns out actually like a lot of the what's out there in terms of buyback is like the team just promises to buy back and then they either don't, they do or don't, or they're going to be really bad at timing it. And they found that they were using the protocol reserves, so they weren't like reinvesting. Like I said with companies, they're usually very mature and they have like a lot of cash flow. They want to signal like, hey, we're cash rich and we believe in our thing. We're going to buy back. Turns out the teams are jumping on buyback because of the narrative, and it's too early to be doing that. And they're saying that even the programmatic ones can be optimized much further. So they have a really cool report where they're showing how these stack up. Do they get like efficient performance for that revenue? Is it worth doing? What are the different strategies that you can do? And they have 3 different types. Programmatic, and they're saying that spends too much during peaks. Discretionary, obviously the team tries to time, which we don't want, and then trigger, which they're defining as, and they're saying it's actually very efficient, right? It's in this matrix. It's like it's transparent because we can tell what's going on and we can reason about it, and it's very efficient because it has some optimal strategy that it's following, and the team chooses the initial parameters, and they called it counter-cyclical discipline. So you can think of it getting the good price no matter what the market conditions are. So say like an example is a buyback is activated once the token price falls below like some moving average, like 30-day. And then we smooth that a little bit so it's like DCAing daily or weekly. And it'll buy more during the downturns, and that gives you reflexivity. And then like in peaks, it will back off. And we kind of like they're saying that's very optimal to do. And then they have these nice little charts that I stole where like if you do a sophisticated buyback as part of a trigger, you don't contribute to inorganic volume, or you don't contribute too much to like pumping volume, basically. Like the share of volume is lower. It's hard to reason about why that is, but the report talks about it. I don't think I'll be a good job explaining why that might be in their models. Oh yeah, another thing that I remembered from there is they're saying that you don't want to like remove liquidity with buybacks. Obviously, a lot of them were doing taker orders, which have to fill immediately. Again, assistance fund seems to be gold standard. It does maker orders, limit order into the market, and then it eventually gets executed at some price. But I don't think it is actually doing a moving average or anything else. It seems to be just when it fills up, according to that one thing. But again, we don't actually know because the hyperliquid. I should point out that the hyperliquid binary that contains this schedule, like we can see what it's doing. But the binary that contains this is actually closed source at the moment. So we can run it, and we know that everyone's running it, but we can't review that at the moment. And then I like this quote from NMTD8.HL, who is a hyperliquid influencer. He says, "This is a blockchain, not a company deciding if it's under or overvalued." So imagine that you have this system-level actor. It has max conviction. It's max long. No one can stop it, and it's bullish on your token forever. Amazing. And I believe that is it. Another reminder to come to the Vancouver Crypto Happy Hour tomorrow. And look, a QR code you can actually scan.
The other one works
All right.
Okay, good.
Nice.
I think I forgot some things, but I'll be reminded of them when we go to questions.
All right. Yeah, questions. If we do, there should be a mic. And
what do you think about, like, a while ago there was this project called RockyBot, and it was using ZKML to like prove this I don't know if it's an LLM, but a machine learning model buying Bitcoin, and it was able to be profitable. So maybe somebody's like, oh, now LLMs are very profitable. Where do you think like a quote unquote agent that's verifiable that it's this agent performing, where do you think that lies?
I don't consider that a system level actor because it's not doing this like, it's doing a job that seems like it's in demand. Like it's like, all right, everyone wants to be a profitable trader. Everyone wants to like
No, but like,
join in it.
let's say this agent is running the assistance fund, like the buyback.
Oh yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah. Would you say that's hard or
I
brittle?
thought you were getting at like the idea that you could like, benefit from it. Like you could get a share of this agent.
No, well, I mean, yeah, maybe there's like a pool that's ran by this agent or something.
Yeah.
But if it was provable, I would kind of say, oh, it's hard. But you also don't know what this neural network is going to do, right? So
Yeah, it could be non-deterministic in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to say if it can verify, that it's truly that no one can screw with it. I think that's a good thing, and then we can watch its performance. Like it'll be known whether this is a good idea or not.
Yeah.
It does seem like I think what I didn't stress is that buyback is like the most obvious one. Like gets people excited because it pumps token, right? But we're getting ahead of our skis. Like people are doing it too early. Like obviously buying it back and like profiting, it's still gonna sell at a later date. So it could be like it's dogged, but it's not dead. Whereas within like a token system, it's like, all right, who do I bribe besides like a market maker in the beginning? Who do I incent, let's say, nicer word, to help me bootstrap like early, like there's a cold start problem, or to do this thing no one wants to do? Who is the buyer of last resort? And like, it's hard to say like, all right, the bot is buying Bitcoin and maybe very optimal in execution, but that wasn't needed for Bitcoin. Didn't actually need that. Like it didn't need Michael Saylor, you know what I mean? Even though he behaves in a similar way, like he buys the top, right? That's great, but he's not never selling as a service. He can't. Like he doesn't have the fiduciary. He has a fiduciary duty to his shareholders to not do that.
I was going to say Mike is like really good exit liquidity. Every
Yeah.
time he buys, like during this downturn, it's just
Yeah.
buys the top. Everybody dumps into it. It's just like free liquidity for the market. So it does create kind of this. Yeah,
But
maybe not as
ultimately, he's aligned to the strategy shareholders, right? And the bot is, I don't know, aligned to the author or something. Whereas the system level actor, I think the defining feature that I'm like reaching for is that it's like default aligned with your protocol, whatever it is. And I feel like we could get to a point where yes, only chains like L1s and L2s and people that can afford to have like a DVN or can make these things and have something by default at the very early start that does something. Again, this is the reason why they called it a public goods wallet, is because there's a problem in funding a public good. There's not an immediate profit. It's a very, very long term. It's almost like a tragedy of the commons, where like, if we're all pursuing our own self-interest, we can't have this group interest that converge. And it's solving that by having this automated thing that maybe all the validators take turns running. So I'm lamenting that like without something like Chainlink or a DVN that is very general purpose, or Keeper Network, which really is totally defunct, we don't have this thing that we can give to. We can't build this kind of thing for protocols like dApps. Like if you're a DeFi protocol and you're not running your own L2 or your own chain, which is obviously not available to everyone. It's very expensive, even the L2. You don't get a really enshrined like system level actor.
Can you define?
Okay. Enshrined means that it's part of the consensus, embedded in the consensus. I have it here in the sidebar. Oh yeah, consensus embedded execution. So imagine, I don't know, you have 20 nodes and they're all running the schedule of the buybacks or whatever, the liquidation. They're all going to keep deciding. They're likely to just keep deciding that in the future, and then whatever the upgrade is, they do social consensus or they fork. But it's very hard to say like, all right, I could corrupt, I don't know, a few of them, but they're Byzantine fault tolerant. It won't work. I can't stop them. So enshrined is the safest, right? Is what I'm saying. It's the safest to get to hook into those qualities. But I'm saying it's not available to everyone, because not everyone, you can't imagine if every DeFi protocol had its own chain. Maybe we're heading there. I don't know. Its own L3 or something. Or its own DVN. There should be something general purpose. Keeper tried to do it, didn't work out.
So we are seeing, for example, that when an actor is buying back token, we can like front running. So don't you think that the fact that the buyback is or the burn is on chain and so transparent and visible to everyone,
Yeah.
can be bad in a way, or we can front run this knowing that the token will be buy, for example, open a long or something like that.
Yeah. By front run, are you saying that you just like sell into its order?
Yeah.
That's like what we're saying with MicroStrategy,
Yeah.
right? Thanks, Mike.
I think that's fine because over the long run, yeah, it's hard to. I don't know. Do you then do you say like, all right, say we didn't like this and like it's harming the efficiency of the mechanism? Do we say that only the system level? You could do this. You could say the system level actor always gets prioritized, like its execution is always prioritized. But if its job is to provide liquidity and to and that's very healthy and hyperliquid, that's like arguably the entire point. It has to do that. It can't do taker orders that execute immediately because that harms like the other participants and pulls the liquidity. So I don't know if the front running or the MEV is like a big deal or like enough to matter over the long term. Probably not, but it seems hard to without fancier things to stop. But yeah, it does happen. I'm hoping that someone like is like, all right, I can think of like a ton of different types of these system level actors that could be useful in protocols or things. Like I want to hear like ideas about it.
This idea of hardness and enshrinement sounds a lot like the code is law type of thing that we've been talking about in blockchain for a long time. And a big issue with like code is law is just like, oh no, there's a bug, and like, oh, all this money got exploited. So like, do you think hardness and enshrinement, is that fundamentally good, or is that just like this like arbitrary property that you can kind of define and try and reason over? Like, how do you compare that to the like code is law? Thinking.
It depends. It depends on what the system, or like it depends on what the promise is, right? Obviously, they could all be hacked, but like something that is enshrined and transparent, I hope will be hacked less often because we could verify it. Whereas something that is off chain, like you're strengthening it. It's not law in the sense that like a question of fault and liability. Like that's a different thing. But it is law in the sense that if Clarity Act passes, like you are now decentralized and you could do other things. Or maybe it's not even that you're like, all right, we get a benefit, we get a grant or something, or we're investable. It's more like we can't sue you. Like you have a negative freedom from this thing. We can't sue you. We can't try to take you down or arrest you. These kind of things. So I think that code is law probably doesn't stand up in court, but it's also that the law says that you need the code to work this way. It seems like it's starting to say that. Does it not?
Yeah, I think from like a legal law point of view, but also like philosophically, just like those laws, like this is how the thing was designed, and even if it, whether it's an exploit or just a use that wasn't really intentional, like hey, that's just like that's how it works. That's
okay.
The thing.
It's not really new except when there's like losses, and it's because the current financial system is very reversible, right? Like nothing is really final or settled, and if you're a large institution, you'll be compensated, you'll be bailed out, whereas a small guy would not, right? So we barely even have that. And what I was going to say is that going back to the dead hand, legal institutions is like, all right, like there's a trust, but like that is actually limits the government from doing anything. They have to have a very long lawsuit, and it'd be interesting to look at like, all right, this is an instance of contract is law, right? The contract is so powerful that the government has to go through a lengthy lawsuit, and then they might even lose before they can claw back this thing, right? This castle or whatever that some trust owns. So I think it starts to interact with institutional hardness, and we already have that, and we kind of value it, and we like it. But there's always limits to it, and I think in a dispute, it's hard to say. probably a system level actor should not be doing anything like remember the Frax AMOs were forbidden from like doing a thing that destabilizes the system. Like they should be the jobs that are chosen for that should be such that like, all right, it's very unlikely that this could cause losses or cause a dispute. But it's certainly not liable. Like again, who do you? Maybe the answer to that is like when it gets really litigious. Like who do you sue? Like I can't sue the assistance fund, or HLP. No, this is a better example. Is HLP for sure has taken the other side of a position and like liquidated, a market maker favorably, and they'd be like, all right, if they come and try to sue it, like we would laugh, right? Like they would try to sue, Hyperliquid Labs or the dev team, but I really don't think that would hold up. Yeah, it just keeps going to sleep. I know it's kind of unsatisfying, but we actually don't know. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think the 1010, when ADL kicked in and HLP kind of made a bunch of money, like Hyperliquid as a blockchain as a system worked, but the big kind of like community response was like, oh, like it worked doesn't make me feel good about like losing my like supposedly delta neutral position got absolutely wrecked, right? And like just saying that like, hey, the system worked and this is how the system is, like that feels bad. We're like, the alternative is like you have a centralized exchange and they just refund the people because they're like, oops, my bad kind of thing.
yeah, but again, it's at their discretion.
But as a user, you're like, hey, like I didn't lose as much as I could have, and that feels good, right? And I guess maybe coming from like like this code is law, I guess it's like, hey, this is how it's designed, and if the results are unintentional, well, that's a skill issue rather than like, a feature.
Yes, but it could also work the other way where, it saved someone from, a bad outcome. As long as the rules were known in advance, because there's always options to trade somewhere else.
I mean, both sides are like a value statement on this. Like, is hardness a desirable trait?
Yes, I think it is. I think hardness is a desirable trait when you're making a promise that something will function as it intends. Because when you let humans into it, they're discretionary. Like the centralized exchange might just make sure that the whales are taken care of or something, right? Like the odds are that they will refund the smaller user is quite low, and it's probably not gonna pass. So I think it leads to fair outcomes on net, or at least like predictable outcomes, and that's what it's getting at. Is like there can be still bad times, but at least like you can reason about the risk in the system.
You wanted an example of more system actors. I would say like risk management for lending platforms. So something like a Gauntlet, like they're kind of just pulling the strings there, right?
Yeah.
You could harden that, right, and have a systematic way of doing that as well.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I think also Chaos Labs is one that does Aave. I haven't looked into too much how those work, but
yeah, I don't know if it's just like they propose to the DAO and then the DAO's like, yep, looks good.
It still seems very like that they're a consultant, or they're just like retained to do this service. I'm sure they run bots, and APIs, but it's not part of the chain. And as these things get cheaper, maybe hopefully you could do something like that.
Yeah, or like on an L2 published to L1 or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Any other questions there?
How are you trying to?
Oh wait, try. Something's not.
Well,
sort of like almost like liminal space that's not being like fully optimized, kind of in these protocols.
Who was the Canadian guy I mentioned? Oh yeah, no, the common law, the guy. No, I don't know if I'm gesturing at liminal spaces, but I'm definitely saying that like the design, like it's not, these are not old ideas. Like, you know, we have persons in law, we have corporations, and then we have these other kind of things that are just, you know, vessels that nothing, you know, an asset doesn't leave. And this is good. This is like, you know, we want people to enjoy, you know, this monument or something way into the future, or this like forest. Like we have like a very long-term view. And so it's in a repository. It's like, it's, you know, no one can buy it. And, you know, someone is entrusted with custodianship. And maybe we need to think about, I'm getting at, maybe we need to think about some of these blockchain systems that, you know, if they become important in the financial system, maybe we need to think about them in the same way. When Ethereum is thought of like, all right, this is like digital commons, and you know, can't be shut down, and it can make really hard promises. If you throw something encrypted onto a system powered by Ethereum, it's going to be better than your safety deposit box at the bank. Like we want to be able to say that. I don't know if we can say that right now. That's the broader vision, and there's certainly like a much larger design space than just buybacks. But again, there's not too much out there. Does that answer your question?
Just trying to fully figure out the correlation between those three examples at the beginning. I think I was still just, yeah.
They're basically like autonomous, you know, jobs that run as part of a protocol, and it's a job that like we shouldn't trust to the team, some bot that we're going to bribe. It's just part of the system, and it's a needed job, and it does it well. It does it, you know, well, like doggedly. And if it's holding an asset, it's going to hold it forever. And so I was, you know, comparing it to corporate trusts and WOCs and clearing members and these kind of things.
All right, anything else? Going once, going twice. Okay, well, one final round of applause here for Yoni, zone guest, for our zone guest. Okay, yeah, thanks everybody. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. 6 p.m. If you haven't signed up, there was the Luma. Do we have the Luma up there? Could get to the very end? Is it possible? It is. So there's our Luma. If you haven't signed up, please sign up just to keep our numbers pumping and, you know, showing how many people are actually going to come to this thing. So that would be sick. And then, yeah, I think, you know, feel free to stick around here for a bit. Thanks everybody for making it out. This is going to be our last one, I think, down here. We'll probably have like a kind of a farewell party. We'll definitely do that next month at some point. We'll make the announcement. Yeah, we'll do a little something magical here in maybe a couple of weeks. So, okay. Thank you, everyone. Fold up your chairs if you don't mind, and we'll see you very soon. Okay, ciao.